All right, there we go. Kennedy, say something funny.
I was muted.
And with that, welcome to this week's installment of the Moorpark Reporter Sportcast, where our reporters get to spit game about the weekly games. So we're going to start off with Bills versus Steelers, the game which apparently, finally knocked it home for me that the Bills are good. It's not something I'm used to saying. It feels wrong. But good thing is you guys can explain it to me because you know better.
All right, Dom, you said the Bills are good. Well, I think they're good enough to be the second best team in the AFC behind the Kansas City Chiefs after this Sunday night game. The Steelers, I don't want to beat up too much on the Steelers. They're an injured team. They're tired. They're injured. They played 3 games in 12 days. Now, usually even like a Thursday night game after a Sunday game, just 5 days, that's tough for teams, but playing 3 games in 12 days, that's tough. They lost Joe Hayden, they lost Dupree and Devin Bush, and then they lost their backup, Alex Highsmith, who had a nice play at the goal line. And another story out of this is just the Steelers' offense just did not look good. 1 for 10 on third down. Big Ben had a terrible-looking pick 6. And the Bills, after a terrible-looking first half, they were able to come back in the second half, and their offense just looked alive. 5 for 7 on third down in the second half, and they finally got the receiver they needed since Sammy Watkins left. They haven't had a good receiver since then. Stephon Diggs, 10 for 130 and a touchdown in the first half when they only had 3 points on offense. He only had 1 for 8, or he only had 1 catch for 8 yards. Second half, he came alive. And, I like this Bills team to compete with the Chiefs. Maybe we'll see this matchup in the AFC Championship game.
Some bold predictions right there. A couple things stood out to me in this game. 1, I really liked those red Buffalo unis. They looked crisp in the Buffalo night. It was cold, but that team looked red hot. 2, Big Ben looks like he's got to move on to greener pastures, my friend. I think his time in the NFL is coming to a close. Down with Big Ben. Up with, dare I say, Josh the Giant. I think Josh Allen is going to lead this Bills team to success over the next several years. I think he's a great talent. And, I like that there's a little bit of changing in the guard. We've had the Steelers be very good for quite a long time, and it's always interesting to get a new team in there. Do I think that they will beat the Chiefs? Probably not, but I think that they could make a push for the AFC Championship game. I know I mentioned earlier I like Indianapolis. I still do. I still think that they're a dark horse to get there. But Bills Mafia, we see you. Bills Nation, we see you. I think you guys have a lot of good coming in the future.
Yeah, totally. Going back, just Ben Roethlisberger I agree, he looks old. He doesn't look like the Ben Roethlisberger the first 11 games. But, those last couple throws that he had on, and I think the last drive, he threw an interception, and it was not only underthrown, but just inaccurate. It just was not a great throw. Stephon Diggs almost had as many receiving yards as the entire Steelers offense. I think he was almost just like a little bit less than 50 yards off, or a little bit more than 50 yards off. And then also just the Steelers offense total, they only had 47 rushing yards. Just not, if you want to beat the Bills, especially, you got to make sure you get all aspects of the game going.
I don't want to, whatever you call the metaphor I'm trying to think that's in my head, and for some reason doesn't want to come out of my mouth. It's still the Steelers. They're 11-2. Like, come on, like 2 weeks ago, we were proclaiming them better than the Chiefs. So let's just pump the brakes. That's the cliche I wanted to say about the Steelers. We need to pump the brakes on them. But one thing Bills fans should be enthusiastic about is Josh Allen. Heck, even Chip Kelly said this kid is going to break all my records one day. So if the franchise's best QB is like in the current quarterback, nothing but excitement in Buffalo.
Yeah, and I agree with you, but for the Steelers, I think there's should be no more TikToks for the wide receivers. I think they got to stop that, at least until the end of the season, no more. But the Bills' defense is legit. That secondary is looking really good.
Max, are you saying that they should not juju on that beat anymore?
Mitch,
Yeah,
so
that's
you are one lame phrase away from us just cutting you out of the podcast completely.
Wait, I feel like I'm missing something. Are they posting TikToks and it ends up like that Twitter post where it's like, I'm gonna go fight this dude. I'll post the video soon. I am posting that video. I got my butt whooped.
That's exactly what it's like.
Well, you think they would have had a no social media policy after Antonio Brown in Pittsburgh, so I don't know how they're getting away with these TikToks.
All right. Well, a couple things I learned there. First is that, the Bills we're not better than we've ever been. We're just about as good as we've been. I think we're ready to lose another Super Bowl. Second, Josh Allen apparently is as tall as Ben Roethlisberger. I didn't realize he was tall.
A young Ben Roethlisberger.
They both measure, 6'5".
And not fat.
I want to ask Mitch one more question. Mitch picked the Steelers behind their defense, and Kennedy, obviously, you like them too. With this terrible outing from how their offense looked and these injuries on the defense, how do you guys like their chances still?
Look, I think if anything remains, a factor for Pittsburgh is that they've got experience. They've been there before. Ben Roethlisberger is a Hall of Famer, and a Hall of Famer knows how to pull out wins, even when their team is looking down. I think that they've had a rough couple of weeks of the schedule. They're going to make it into the playoffs regardless, and anything can happen in the playoffs in the NFL. It's a crazy crapshoot from the beginning. I still like Pittsburgh. I still think that they're one of the better teams in the AFC, but they're coming off back-to-back losses for the first time this year. And they're losing 2 games. They were undefeated until these 2 games, and it's been a tough couple of games for them. I still like them. I'm just more excited about what I see from Buffalo, more promise, but I still think Pittsburgh could pull it out.
All right, very interesting. Good question, Danny. Now, from one team that's spent a little while down in the standings to another team that's spent a little while down in the standings, we're moving on to the Browns, and specifically their game against the Ravens. So, unfortunately, unlike the Bills game, I didn't see any of this game. So, why don't you guys tell me about it? Give me a little action. Tell me how things are going there. All right. I want to see images in my head.
Well, this was a crazy game all around. I don't think anyone really expected this game to be one of the most exciting games of the season. So many touchdowns, like a plethora of touchdowns. Here's a picture for you, Dom. A dump truck came to your house, into your backyard, and just dumped a bunch of touchdowns into your yard, and now you got touchdowns everywhere. You don't know what to do with them. This game was insane. It came down to the wire. You had Justin Tucker, who used to be a very, very good kicker, the most reliable kicker in the NFL. And now when he comes up, you're kind of wondering, is he going to make the field goal or not? Gets the field goal for the win, and in the most Browns fashion ever, they lose. Instead of coming back to tie the game, the Ravens get a safety. They cover the spread, so if you bet on the Ravens, congrats to you. Lamar Jackson, I think it was premature to still give him that MVP. I still think he's a very good quarterback who will lead the Ravens to playoffs for the rest of his career as long as he stays healthy. The Browns are the most impressive 9-4 team in the NFL right now, and I don't think we're talking enough about them. Baker is kind of finding his way. I don't know if we know if he's a good quarterback or a great quarterback yet, but I think in 2 to 3 years we will have our answer in Cleveland.
Yeah, Kennedy, I want to echo what you said. Baker really looks to be coming into his own, and I know he had so much hype coming into the league with his performance at Oklahoma and his off-the-field issues. I think if he didn't have so much media around him, so much status around him, that maybe he'd be flying under the radar right now. But because he's Baker Mayfield and he has that name recognition of Baker Mayfield, people go crazy. As Uncle Colin likes to say, Baker's good. He's not great. I don't think Baker's great yet. I don't know if 2 or 3 years will be any different. I do have to say that I'm thoroughly impressed with Cleveland. I found myself rooting for a poop-colored football jersey today, which I cannot say for a very long time. I wanted to see Cleveland win. I thought it would be a big statement win. Regardless, I thought it was a statement game. It was a good loss. And I know wins and losses are the only thing that matter, but I thought it was a good loss for Cleveland, some good momentum. And I really, do think that is a changing of the tide for that football culture. And I agree. I think it was premature to anoint Lamar Jackson as the MVP. He had a really good season last year. I don't know if it was worthy of MVP. He came off hurt for a little bit and then came back. It was such a tight game. It was interesting to watch. It was everything you want out of a Monday night football game. I just came out of it being thoroughly impressed with the product on the field.
I'm sorry, I need to jump in real quick. I forgot to even mention during my analysis that one of the star quarterbacks had to leave the field to go poop. He was gone for almost a quarter trying to poop and then came back and did the game-winning drive.
I thought he was hurt. He just had to go.
No. You see, if you watch the camera, he's doing the poop walk that we've all done when it's about to get out and you need to get to the restroom. We've all done that walk. Lamar Jackson was doing that walk.
So yeah, let me go off Mitchell's point where this was a good loss for the Browns. I agree with that because in the fourth quarter, they're down 34-21, and they're able to come back and tie it 42-42. And remember, there's only a minute left, so this was the Browns' last drive. This was their last time getting the ball. So the fact that they were able to score a touchdown on their last possession, I feel like they're going out. They're going out feeling like, this is a good loss if there's such thing. Lamar Jackson, after he took a dump, he came back in on 4th and 5. He's coming in on 4th and 5 with 2 minutes left, and he's able to throw a 40-yard touchdown to Hollywood Brown. I mean, that's a big-time throw, a big-time play for an MVP who doesn't get enough respect on this show. And I said it on the holiday show, I like the Ravens to sneak into the 7th seed. Let me pull up their schedule really quick. After they beat these Browns, they got the Jags, Giants, and Bengals. I like them to win out. So, yeah, big divisional game. What a crazy game.
Yeah, this is, very crazy game. I think the Browns, they surprised me for sure. I did not expect that. I thought Cody Parkey was going to be the reason that the Browns lost tonight after he missed the extra point and the field goal. Baker Mayfield, he threw one interception, and it was a really bad read by him. It was clearly covered, and he just decided to throw it because he thought he could. I have written down in my notes that Lamar Jackson is Superman. Maybe he pulled a Paul Pierce in the 2008 finals going to the bathroom, but whatever it was, Trace McSorley went down, and then Lamar Jackson just starts coming and running on the field. There's nothing better than that. And all I have to say is, how many storylines does this game have? There's so many headlines that can be used. But again, we go back to Justin Tucker. He let his feet do the talking, man. That dude is insane. In the cold, a 55-yard kick, and he just killed it.
Are we ready to call this the game of the year? Because it's the most exciting game I've seen so far.
Yeah, I am. Definitely for sure. It's honestly one of the best games I've seen in a couple of years, to be honest.
Might be game of the decade.
Maybe.
Rams Chiefs 2 years ago. You guys remember that game?
Well, that was last decade, Danny. We're in a new decade.
Okay. I guess, yeah. Okay.
So the game of the decade.
Technicality.
Technicality.
Max, another storyline, like you said, that we didn't point out was the Browns' backfield, Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. That might be the deadliest backfield, whether it's pass catching with Kareem Hunt or just pounding the ball down the defensive line. And Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt had the game time touchdown, and Chubb he ran for 2 on the ground. When the Browns get the run game rolling like they usually do, it makes it easy on Baker. And I feel like they can beat any team with this backfield.
I would agree, Danny, but I think their biggest problem is defense. That's their weakest link. I think they're a defense away from really making a deep playoff run.
Well, the thing is that with these running backs, they can control the time of possession, keep the offense on the field, defense off the field. It's going to be really fun to see them in the playoffs, I think.
Yeah, 9 total rushing touchdowns tonight, tied an NFL record.
All right, well, let's move on from the Premier Football League to the college leagues of the football playing world. So we've had a bunch of college football. We haven't chatted much about it here on here on the podcast. But I want to hear your thoughts on the college playoffs coming up. We'll run this a little more free-form, little loosey-goosey. So I just kind of want to hear your general thoughts. Who you think is going to take it? What do you think merits mentioning on this foremost of platforms?
Right. Well, first and foremost, I think anybody who follows college football will tell you that this has been an embarrassment of a season. It was announced today that Washington is going to pull out of the Pac-12 title game against SC because they have too many players ineligible to play due to COVID. Oregon will replace them. I don't think either of them will be able to beat the Trojans. But put that aside, too many games were canceled. These players aren't playing for any money, legal money, that is. So there's no reason that they should be putting their health and safety at risk. And I just don't think that there's any legitimacy to this college football season. That being said, out of the top 4 teams, Bama, Ohio State, Clemson, Notre Dame, I got to take my chances with the Irish. I thought they had a statement win over Clemson at home earlier in the season, and they're going to play each other again in the ACC championship game. For my money, the winner of that game is going to win the championship. I don't like that the Big Ten changed the rules to allow Ohio State to play their conference title game, even not playing the prerequisite 6 games. They reduced it to 5. To me, college football is a wash this year, and there needs to be improvements in the CFP for sure.
Normally, I would disagree with Mitchell when he would say this is a wash season or an asterisk season, but he's absolutely right. This is the most ridiculous thing to happen in sports, especially college sports. There is no integrity to what's going on right now. The players who are playing, who are risking their lives, who are going out there to make the billions and billions of dollars that the college football makes, are getting none of it. And to top it all off, the top 4 to get into this college playoffs, and what everyone's playing for, is just a joke. You have Ohio State at 5-0. They haven't even played half the games as the other top 4 teams. So I don't understand why we went through all this money, all this effort, all this liability, all this risk of injuring kids in order just to make money if we were just going to have the same 4 colleges we've had in the college playoff bracket. It's just ridiculous. It's a joke. This season needs the biggest asterisk. It honestly should not have started because of how many games had been canceled, had been postponed, how many students had gotten sick, how many unknown side effects we don't even know about COVID that could be happening to these athletes. So I could really get into why I'm so angry that college football is just doing this.
You know, yesterday on the holiday show, I was on the other side of you and Mitchell Kennedy. And you know what? After doing my research today, I am so sorry for what I said. Please forgive me. I did my research. I'm on your guys' side. Another thing that I find funny as we're exposing the NCAA is, you know, they sent the students home online. The student safety comes first, unless you're on the field and you're making me money. That's the sad thing. And I want to go back to Kennedy's point about the integrity of the season. You know, it's like, yeah, Ohio State might be the best team, but the way they put them they listed them 4. So they're pretty much saying games don't matter. You know, it's like Florida 8-1. You know, their 8 wins, they don't matter. Cincinnati's 8-0. Their wins don't matter. Ohio State, they've only beat Indiana, a 12-ranked Indiana, who they haven't beat anyone either. So it's not like Ohio State blew everyone out and they played a bunch of top-heavy teams. It's just, and then Clemson, a 9-1 record, number 3. I get it's only 1 loss, but Clemson hasn't been that impressive. This is all about money. They want Ohio State and Clemson in. They want Trevor Lawrence in. They want Justin Fields in. It's all about money.
Yeah, great points. I agree that committee just they all they want is ratings and money. That's all they care about. When in regards to I would choose Clemson to win it all just because Trevor Lawrence is back and they lost to Notre Dame earlier, but Trevor Lawrence wasn't their quarterback at the time. But the one thing I will say is I agree that the NCAA probably does not care at all with the health of their athletes. But I think that the season should have happened just because I feel like a lot of these players wanted to play. If they didn't want to play, they didn't have to. They still have that. They had the option to come back next year. But sometimes maybe this was their last year to play and they didn't really want to come back next year. But yeah, I agree. They don't care about the athletes really. They just care about the money.
It would make sense. Oh, sorry, Mitchell. It would make sense if you were like a top 100 NFL prospect. You were playing at Bama, Clemson, Oklahoma, one of those schools where you had a legitimate chance. Like, I need to play this year if I want to play in the NFL. But if you're San Jose State, why the hell are you playing football right now? I don't even know if San Jose State is playing football, but a school like San Jose State shouldn't have even stepped on the field.
Yeah, I'm back to the money. I think a lot of people tend to forget that college football and basketball pay for everything else that the institution does. It brings in revenue to the school to fund new learning materials, new classrooms, to pay professors' salaries, to support other sports. It's an unfortunate thing that the money is so disproportionately allocated to these big programs, and that, the term student athlete has the word student first. Back to what you said, Danny, you would think that they would care more about the student safety, but it's an unfortunate thing that the kids got to play in order for the school to make a little bit of money. It's an unfortunate situation, and if they were really to monopolize on it, they would expand the college football playoff to make it legit and have a representative of every conference show up in the playoff, and there'd be more money involved. This season, Max, Trevor Lawrence did not play for Clemson against Notre Dame, and we'll see them in the ACC championship game. I think that's, like I said, going to be the best game of the year. But I want to see new teams in there. I'm tired of seeing Alabama. I'm tired of seeing Ohio State. I would have liked to see a couple years ago UCF with their undefeated team that beat Auburn. Like, that would have been great to see some other representation of other universities in this country. There's so many schools that compete, and there's no reason that we need to be watching the same 4, 5, or 6 every year in the big bowl games. It's just ridiculous.
Mitchell, I hate to burst your bubble about the football program paying for everything. Last year, and this is according to Forbes magazine, last year the Crimson Tide football team, their revenue was $77 million last year, 77, and only $6.5 million went to the academics. So if you think any money is going to anyone but the athletic director, the coach, the strength coach, all of those upper management, that's where the money's going. It's not going to the science program. It's not going to the English program. It's going to the people up top.
And I mean, even if it's funding the lesser earning sports, like, the sports not many people are going to go to see, like, say, track and field, they still probably shouldn't be competing either. I mean, I feel like it's kind of should have been all hands on deck.
If you look at it, Stanford, one of the premier universities in the country, both academically and athletically, had to cut 9 or more varsity sports this year. That's 9 complete teams, men and women, that went to college and committed to the school to play, that can no longer chase their dreams of being a collegiate athlete. Why should they have to lose their opportunity when the football and basketball teams continue to play?
Because that's what I don't know about Kennedy, but that's what I'm kind of saying. Football should have had to take a knee for the season to protect student health, because, they're cutting all these teams. What's more is, as you guys, I'm sure know, I'm old. This is my second go-around at Moorpark. My first time at Moorpark was from 2012 to 2014. And one of my buddies, when I was there, couldn't join the guys' track team because there was no guys' track team. It had to be cut due to budget issues. So he ended up joining the women's track team. You know, he couldn't compete in like actual competitions, but he still got the workouts and everything in. So there are other options, but I think when you don't have teams with enough players to compete because you had them compete is just irresponsible. There are so many other ways to keep up that weight training, to keep up those things. I mean, heck, I would have loved, this is just me coming up with an alternative. I would have loved if they like divided, like made like divisions with like every 5 states and then just did bubble leagues with maybe like 5 or 6 teams round robin style. And then the best one from each one goes off and plays. Just do something. I could have.
See, the problem is then you're removing the veil that college football loves, that this isn't a business. Because once you put students in a bubble, it's no longer a school sport. It is a professional business sport. So that's why they didn't do it, Dom. They have to have the allure of amateurism so they do not have to pay their players.
Well, I want to say one more thing about you saying how they can change it, and one more thing about Mitch talking about the playoff changes.
All right, make it quick because I got a treat for you guys.
Yeah, okay. This was the year they could have done 1 through 8 playoffs. This was the year. This was the perfect year. We saw the NFL add another playoff team, and we saw the NBA. I think they had like a play-in for the 8 seed. This was the year they could have tried it out, and then maybe if they put Ohio State at 8 or 7, maybe that doesn't anger the entire fan base as much. And they just totally messed that one up.
I'm legitimately surprised that we saw every other sport do something different with their playoffs except for college football. You are right, Danny.
So I want to thank you all for your amazing takes, but now I've been teasing it a little. And for more of this, they're going to have to go watch our holiday special. Spoilers, that's coming up after this. But today, I think it was today, the Cleveland baseball team became the Cleveland baseball team. So you get 3 words at most. What do you want the new Cleveland baseball team name to be? Lightning round.
That's a hard one. I haven't even thought about it. Maybe if they did something like some of the options.
You get 3 words. You got a lightning round. Go fast.
3 Red Tails.
It should be the face of Michael Stanley. They should be the Cleveland Michael Stanleys. Just have a picture of Michael Stanley's face. If you don't know who Michael Stanley is, just literally Google Cleveland celebrities, and he'll be your 3rd picture.
The Cleveland Spiders, harking back to the original National League professional team from Cleveland. Keep the same color scheme. New uniforms should be fun.
You put me on the spot, but I guess everyone else.
That's what I do, baby.
I don't know much about Ohio. I'm pretty sure there's a big river there, though. There's an Ohio River?
It's on fire all the time.
Okay, what about the Cleveland River Tails?
Perfect. I love
River
it.
Tails.
I gotta be honest, Mitchell.
The Cleveland Rapids. Thank you, Max.
I don't
Cleveland
like yours,
Rapids.
Mitchell, because I'm an arachnophobe.
Oh, I am too.
Would you rather be in a room full of spiders or a room full of snakes? Because I'd rather be in a room full of snakes.
I'd rather
Spiders.
I'd rather not be in that room.
And with that, we are done for today. We're ignoring the fact that the Cleveland Wahoos is clearly the superior name, but we'll get to that.
They're trying to get away from that, Dom.
I didn't say the Cleveland Chief Wahoos, just Wahoos. Like, people go Wahoo.
Wahoo fish tacos.
Exactly.
Ooh.
God, now I'm hungry. And we will see you next week. Let's wrap up real quick. Tell us your name, where they can find you on social media. Danny
Stepanovich at D Stepanovich, 2 H's, Instagram, Twitter. Yep.
At Mitch Ross Report, everywhere social media is accepted. Sitting on the fence, giving them hot takes.
My name's Kennedy. You can find me wondering why the guacamole I make at home is never as good as the guacamole at restaurants.
Max Clark at _Max Clark on Instagram and Twitter.
Fantastic. See you next week.